Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Mavs Edge Internship Spotlight. This is our first internship spotlight of the semester, and we're excited to have with us today a relatively new partner, Amegy Bank. I'm David Powers. I'm the Assistant Director of Internships here in UTA's Career Development Center. So I assist our employer partners with developing internship programs and direct our Mavs Edge Internship Program. Again, thank you for spending what looks like to be your lunch with us. If you weren't able to be with us live, you will see this session recorded in a number of areas. Follow us on LinkedIn, follow us on Facebook, sign up for our weekly internship update, and you'll receive links to this presentation. Excited, as I said, to have Amegy Bank with us today. Let's get started with meeting our guests in the spotlight. Aliana, would you mind please to introduce yourself?
Of course. Hi, David. Thank you so much for having me join today. I'm really excited to finally get connected a little bit closer to the program. I know we're still very much relatively new to the program as a partner. I believe we got connected last spring 2021, and I am so excited to really hopefully get this information to the right students so we get some candidates interested in our fantastic career opportunities that we have to offer. So my name is Aliana Dodson, and I am a college recruiter for Amegy Bank and more broadly Zions Bank Corporation. Amegy Bank, and we'll talk a little bit about that in more detail here in a second, but Amegy Bank is part of Zions Bank Corporation, a larger family of banks. And what I do as a senior campus recruiting and university relations specialist, I recruit for our banker development program, one of the programs I'll discuss today, and the summer internship program, which of course I'm hoping a lot of you are interested in as an internship opportunity for future summer. I have been with the bank for 3 years now. I just hit my 3-year anniversary and excited to be here. And let's see, I am a graduate of the University of Texas in Austin. So related, let's put it that way, and I'm happy to be here today.
Well, thanks again. It's like I said, it's great to have you. And I know we're going to spend some time going in depth with the program. And that's the point of this presentation is we want our students to get to know our Mavs Edge partners and to better understand their interest in EA students. I believe let's not waste any time. We can jump right into that presentation.
Sounds good.
Talk through the program.
Sounds wonderful. I'm excited to do it and really hoping to hit on some important parts. As I was looking through our presentation, I cut out a lot of the details that we like to cover. I really would like to focus on today is the company, who we are, what kind of opportunities we offer, what makes us unique, and of course, really focusing on the summer internship. And also would like to really discuss about the following opportunity, right? So if you intern with us, what might be down the road when you're ready to graduate, which is our banker development program. So those things combined, and as a college recruiter, obviously I mentioned I recruit candidates, but I also work with representatives like David, with that's part of the university relations part of my role. We're very lucky to partner with some amazing local universities in Texas and a couple other states, but really thrilled to be able to do this kind of outreach to hopefully get to students who are looking for an exciting career and considering banking, and really helping them understand what all banking has to offer, because we realize a lot of students have no idea. They may have heard about investment banking, as we all know, plenty of movies about it, they've heard about that kind of role, but that might not be the right fit for them. Commercial banking is often kind of the overlooked opportunity, right? And we do a fair amount of educating, helping students understand what really that is and what they can expect if they want to be considered for an opportunity in banking. So to get us started, would really like to share with all of you who Amegy is, right? You may have driven past one of our branches. Amegy is kind of a big name in Texas, especially in Houston, which is where we're headquartered. We got our start back in 1990 without having to go too far into a history lesson. And David, I'm sure you can give me some pointers from your background social studies teacher, but trying to spare us too much history here. But I do think it's important to understand where we come from. The gentleman on the photo you see there is, his name is Walter Johnson. We are so privileged to have him as the founder of the bank, and you can still run into him at the Amegy Tower, our headquarters building, where he still to this day works. He is an incredible gentleman, incredible man who has built the bank from scratch in 1990. Started out as that Southwest Bank of Texas. Happened right around the time when a lot of banks disappeared in Texas after the economy crashed, and a lot of the banks went bankrupt. It was just a very uncertain time, and Walter realized there was a need. He wanted to create a bank for the Texans by Texans, and that is how we got our start. Amegy has some incredible history of growth and opportunity. And back in 2005, we actually became a part of Zions Bank Corporation. So we changed our name to Amegy Bank. We became part of a larger family of banks, a regional system of banks called Zions Bank Corporation. Our parent company, Zions Bank, is actually headquartered in Salt Lake City, Utah. And what's great is we have 8 different affiliates across 11 southwestern states in the US, but each one has their own leadership, has their own unique culture, unique branding. So it's great because we're able to be what we need to be in our unique markets, but we have that consistent credit culture across the whole organization. We have, the strength in numbers. We have the resources of a large bank, but we have the culture and the feel of a smaller, more community kind of bank. And that's the great balance that Amegy is able to offer in Zions Bank Corporation as well. So to give you an idea of numbers, size, kind of how big we are a regional size bank. In total, Zions Bank Corporation has about $85 billion in asset, with the Amegy Bank, of course, being the Texas affiliate, we're around $13 billion in assets. We do have about 75 full service locations around Texas. Now, as far as our corporate locations, and you all might be interested in that because that's where our, of course, new grad and internship opportunities are. We have our Houston, greater Houston area market. That's where we're headquartered. Some of you may have driven by if you are in Houston, in the Galleria, big, shiny, mirror-looking buildings, beautiful. Can't miss. It says Amegy Bank in big letters there. That's, our Houston location. We also have a corporate location in downtown Houston. We are also in the DFW Metroplex. We have corporate offices in Dallas, and a couple of years ago, we opened one in Fort Worth as well. We just opened a loan operations office in Arlington, which is exciting. We had our first Arlington intern this past summer. You just never know what opportunities might pop up. So we do have a lot of opportunity in DFW, which is, of course, why I'm here talking to all of you. I was so excited when David reached out. We have a lot of growth opportunity in DFW, and we have a lot of needs for new grads, for interns in that area. So definitely want to talk about that. And we also have a market in central Texas area. So that's corporate offices in San Antonio and surrounding areas. We are expanding into Austin. It's a bit of a process, so we're not quite there yet, but we're definitely growing into that market. It's a new one for us. Overall, Amegy is kind of in a growth mindset. There's a lot of opportunities as far as working with new businesses and growing into those communities. So lots of exciting opportunities for early career professionals to learn and really grow with the company. So really wanted to focus on that. All right, I think I talked through that slide sufficiently. So really the next one, I'll be brief on this.
Yeah, it's really exciting. It's really exciting to be a part of an organization that is growing, and for our students to better understand, all the opportunity that is out there. I know when you work with your larger banks or larger corporations, it's as we can see here on the next slide, folks don't understand the connections. Students sometimes don't understand how the different branches and subsidiaries are connected. So this is awesome.
Awesome. Well, I'm so glad. And David, feel free to please comment on what I should expand on, or maybe, cut short. Just really would like for this to be as informative to the students as possible. But this slide here, really just to give you an understanding of our overall footprint as Zions Bank Corporation. So you can see, of course, Amegy Bank, the Texas affiliate right there, but we have our other sister brother banks. We have California Bank of Trust, for example. We have our Zions Bank in Utah, of course. Metro Bank of Colorado, we have the Commerce Banks. So you can see a very large part of the US where we are present. A total of 11 states. In total, we have about 10,000 employees. Amegy, I think it's around 1,800, just shy of 2,000 or so employees that we have for the Amegy location. And we do have a tremendous number of customers, which have grown a lot. You would think it's been tough times during the pandemic, but we've actually acquired a lot of new clients through the Paycheck Protection Program and as a fallout of the pandemic, because so many businesses were struggling. So that number may actually no longer be accurate, because I know we have had tremendous growth, through the challenging times in order to help businesses. We did not turn businesses away, as I know a lot of banks did, saying, hey, you're not currently a customer, we can't help you. We got to, help our own. Amegy Bank and Zions Bank Corporation, we took a different stance. We said, hey, businesses are struggling. This is our economy. This is, the businesses are what support our community. So we really got to help them out. And we did have a privilege of gaining a lot of new customers that way. So that number is probably quite a bit higher by now, I would imagine so. So that's a bit of an overview, big picture of Zions Bank Corporation. And next, I'd really like to talk to you briefly. We do several presentations. We do banking panels, invite other banks to, where we really like to expose students to banking in general, right? As I mentioned a minute ago, I think it's very challenging for students to know about all the different career opportunities available to them out there. It can be very overwhelming. And as you might be familiar right now, the job market is kind of booming, right? Employers are looking to fill roles, and it can be so hard to know, okay, I have all these choices, but which one is really the right one for me? Or you might see the ones that are being pushed to you because maybe the company has resources to advertise and do all the million different things. And some may have just the right opportunity, but it's not reaching you for whatever reason. So commercial banking, right? Just a few things to think about. I'm not a banker myself. I recruit. I'm a banker by association, I guess. I work in the industry and I work with a lot of bankers, but I'm not, I don't have a finance background. I'm not a banker, but I can tell you a little bit about, why be a commercial banker? Why might you want to consider this as a career? So one, career opportunities and growth. And this will be kind of specific to Amegy, but a little bit broader to banking as well. So don't think it's just Amegy, but I do know that's something that's great about Amegy, or all these reasons here is why to be an Amegy banker. We do offer tremendous amount of career opportunities and growth from different training opportunities. Our banker development program, fantastic way to start a career as a banker. We give a lot of training. I'll talk about that in more detail. Summer internship program, great way to get an insight into banking. So we do have those. Our bankers experience great growth. They see a lot of challenges. They go through different roles in their career. It really depends on how driven you are and what you want to accomplish. But there is a lot of that growth. We have coaching, mentorship mindset. There's really a lot of support, and it's a collaborative teamwork environment. It's a really great opportunity to learn from others, to network. Speaking of networking, relationships. Banking, commercial banking is a lot about relationships. So you might be thinking, well, finance, banking, you have to have like numbers, crunching numbers. Yes, that's true. It's finance, or we recruit finance and accounting majors. So you have to have an affinity for numbers, but it's also very heavily vested in relationships. Do you like meeting people? Do you like learning new things? Do you like discovering what drives other people and businesses? Well, that's at the core of what it takes to be a banker. You learn about people, what they do, how they got their start in whatever business they started. It's very exciting to go through all that. You just never know what you might learn from day to day as a banker. Community. It's another big reason. Banks are the pillars of the community. It's really, it's a really great gateway to be able to help your community, because what are banks, right? They're sources of capital. And as sources of capital, they have means to direct that capital in different areas. Businesses are one area. Of course, we have our retail banking, working with retail consumers, but during this portion, I'll be focusing on commercial banking. So working with the businesses, right? And it's just such a great way to support community. We support small mom and pop shops, local family-owned businesses to the large corporations. We have such a big, diverse portfolio of the kinds of businesses we support. And in all those ways, we do support the community. We're also out in the community. Our bankers, they volunteer, they serve on boards, they're really involved, they go to different events. We really work with, all the different ways we can be there for our community. Even in recruiting, how we recruit, we really try to represent the community we serve as well. So that's a really big part of it. And you'll hear the word community a lot. Community banking, that's a really big part of who we are. And that's how we got our start. When Amegy Bank, Southwest Bank of Texas first started, relationship were key, and those smaller clients and watching them grow was really part of how we got started. Integrity, work ethic, right? We're working with people's money, people's, business livelihood. So it's very important to have that integrity, honesty, and a very solid work ethic. You'll hear some of this stuff repeated as David and I walk through this, but you can think of it as some of the qualities we also look for in our candidates when I walk through some of these things. But it's very important to have that accountability, that strong work ethic, and really doing what's right. Culture, it's a buzzword, and I get it. I don't want to say a lot of the same things that their employers say, but you really ought to think about this when you're considering your employer. You really got to think about not just what the job is, the numbers you're offered, the salary, the perks. That's all great, and you should absolutely think about that. But you really need to think about the culture fit. What's the culture like? Are you going to like working there, or are you going to be miserable within the first couple of months? Because it is crucial. We spend so much time at work. If you have a full-time job, and I know many of you have throughout school, you've probably picked up on this already. Right now, it's just kind of paying bills, paying your way through school. But later, you kind of probably want it to be a little bit more purpose-driven, a little bit more of a team culture. You really want it to be a better long-term fit. Culture is definitely something that we pride ourselves on. And that's why a lot of people choose Amegy, is because we have a culture of a team environment, a collaborative culture. We have some great leaders behind the bank who are leading the bank. They're out there, with the employees. They're visible. I mean, just yesterday, I was having lunch with a colleague who was visiting from Zions Bank, who I was meeting for the first time. We ran into our CEO, Steve Stevens, at Yvonne's, our cafe at the Amegy Tower. Introduced him. I mean, it's just great to have that kind of visibility and that interaction with our executive leadership managers. It's very important, that transparency and that accessibility, because I know not all companies run that way. I certainly have had different experiences elsewhere. So I do encourage you to think about that as well. I already mentioned the culture of community and relationships being at the focus. That's all very, very crucial to us. I get that question a lot. What's the culture like at Amegy? So definitely wanted to touch on that.
Yeah, a quick question about.
Yeah.
I know culture is. I mean, as you said, it can be a bit of a buzzword, but it is critical. It is critical. I know students who are engaging in internships. I mean, many of them are using those internships to assist them with career direction, right? What's their fit? What are they going to like? They're test driving some of these careers in a lot of cases. And I think we emphasize how important that fit is. But what I think is challenging for us, which I hope you might have some suggestions about, is how do you, I mean, obviously you want to attend these kinds of presentations, right? And hear and talk to the representatives, but do you have any recommendations for how to get to know the culture of a company before you're there? I mean, and I know as someone who's been in a lot of roles and in a lot of different places, you've probably been in positions where you think, wow, I wish I'd have known how it was going to be before I got here, right? And I know an internship allows you to do that, right? And on a temporary basis. But I mean, just any thoughts around clues or ways to really get a feel for a company's culture, or even Amegy's culture?
That's such a great question, David. And I'm so glad you paused me there, because I do think that's important to think about. Clearly, once you're already at the company, you're going to get a sense of what the culture's like, when you're interning. But hey, wouldn't it be nice to save time and just get that research done beforehand? Absolutely. And, all the students listening should definitely be doing that. Whether you're considering an internship, yes, it's a short-term commitment, but that's precious time before accepting a full-time job, that you could be exploring something that's a better fit versus something that is not going to work out. Okay, several thoughts on that. So I'll try to organize them. First of all, easiest way, go on the company website. I know that's corporate talk, and I know that's very much edited, but that is going to give you the first idea about what the company's about. The look and feel, the words you see on there, what they say about the company, it'll tell you something about the values of the company, kind of where they see themselves heading. Is it going to align with your values? And that's an important thing to think about. You're going to see kind of the footprint. Are they in the growth mindset? Are they kind of stable? You're going to kind of see the pace. You're going to see the kinds of opportunities there. What are they focusing on? What are they prioritizing? I think that's going to be important. So one, definitely check out the website. Go on Glassdoor and similar websites. Check out reviews from prior employers, people maybe who have worked with Amegy in some other capacity. Because yes, sometimes I almost hesitate to recommend it because oftentimes people go on those websites to only leave bad reviews or I had a terrible experience. It's just like anything else, right? They want to leave a bad review. But honestly, we pride ourselves. We have some great reviews on Glassdoor because people, they may leave for various reasons. They have to relocate, move, or just something else change with their dynamic. But they like, oh, but I really loved working there. We've had return employees because they left and they realized, wow, I can't get this culture elsewhere. All right, this is just different and I want to come back. So the reviews will definitely tell you something. So you want to check those out. Glassdoor, similar and similar sites. Also, try to go to networking events where those companies of interests are available or present. So obviously career fairs, obvious options, because you're quickly meeting with people, getting a general vibe for what the people are like, for the lack of a better word. You can really pick up on that feel, what kind of people the organization employs, and that's going to give you a good idea. Talking to them quickly. Are they friendly? Are they open? Are they, what's the energy like? What kind of opportunities are available? That's a quick touch point, right? Whether it's a career fair or a networking event or an information session, or a student organizational meeting, do encourage you to definitely pursue those opportunities to meet with employers, especially in more informal settings. Also LinkedIn, you can connect with different employees from that organization. Like Amegy Bank, we know our bankers get outreach from students. We're like, hey, I see you're an alum, can we connect? Certainly a great way to get connected and maybe ask them a few questions. Why did they join Amegy Bank or a company of interest? That can be a great opportunity. And sometimes we've even heard students set up quick, 30-minute connection calls. Hey, can I just get to know you a little bit and what you do, things like that. You can ask them and you can find out a lot from that quick conversation. Even if it's just 15-30 minutes, you can get a lot out of it. And word of mouth. Do you have friends who work for that company? Have they interned with them? Word of mouth does a lot. And that's something I appreciate as a recruiter for Amegy because word spreads quickly. And we do get a good number of referrals because they know what Amegy stands for and how great of our opportunities we have. So we do get that. So those are just a few ways, wealth of ways to really get to know the company before you join. But of course, an internship is a much more in-depth way to do that. You will really get a better feel for whether it's a good longer-term fit for you if you come intern for a company. Absolutely encourage you to use that opportunity during the summer to do so.
Yeah, that's super. Yeah, thanks for those suggestions. That was a great breakdown.
I'm sure I'm missing some, David. If they come to me later, if more come to me later, I'll touch on that as well. But yes, culture, that's a big one. Problem solving. Do you like to be helpful in a way where you see a problem and you'd like to solve it? Wonderful. You can do that in banking. You may not think so, but a lot of our businesses, what's our role as a banker, right? A business comes to us and says, hey, I have an X amount of money, but I need Y to get to this next stage of my business because I'm trying to grow or open a new branch or do, X, Y, Z. How do I get there? Well, we have the capital. Let's figure it out, or, hey, I have an issues with fraudulent check. How can y'all help support me in that? Or, hey, I really need help managing my treasury, and how I receive payments from clients. How can you help me? Problem solving. We have so many services we offer to our customers, and you as a banker will know about them. Sometimes it maybe needs to be customized, right? Because they have a unique problem and we can come up with a unique solution. So you get to be creative. You get to think through, okay, this is where we're at. How do we get from point A to point B? How do we get there? Think about the pandemic. What happened, how banks overnight had to come up with how to get this help. Very much needed help, Paycheck Protection Program, 2 businesses almost overnight. Problem solving. It was a lot of work, but we did it and we came out on top. We did a great job through that. Actually, speaking of that, Zions Bank Corporation is not the largest bank. I think they're like 35th by size in all the banks in the US, and there are over 400 banks in the US. It's some very high number. So we're about 35th. Well, in 2020, we came out, I think, number 9 by the amount of PPP loans that we've extended to businesses. So that's huge. We beat out some of the big money center banks just because of how much we really put into it. So that's definitely something to be proud of. Problem solving. That's a big one. Variety. So some people say, well, you know, I really want something that's going to be different, you know, day to day. Hey, banking has that, because day to day you could be meeting with very different businesses. You're going to be seeing totally different approaches to how they run their business, how you might be able to help them. There's so much variety. You learn so much. You know, one day you have no idea how, I don't know, a machine shop works, and the next day you meet with the owner and you find out, wow, this is incredibly interesting. You just got to know about that whole business just from that conversations, you know, with the business owner and how they got started. So definitely plenty of variety, and that's a great way to you know, keep on your toes. Every day is a little bit different for a banker. And purpose, you know, I mentioned it earlier, but we have a great means to impact the community in positive ways. And if you're searching for that purpose, there can be a lot of purpose found in banking to really support, grow our economy and support the local businesses. So definitely a great opportunity there.
Yeah, I know purpose and mission are also really key concerns to students. So
Absolutely. I've noticed that being more of a prevalent question lately. You know, hey, I know I see the younger generations really try to connect purpose to work. It doesn't work all the time. I think you know, we can see from experience, it just doesn't always connect, but there are so many ways you can connect purpose to what you do day in and day out. So next I want to touch about, of course, the early career opportunities we have at AMG Bank. So we have two main ones I'll spend my time talking about in this overview slide, just to give you an idea what's ahead. We have our summer internship program, and I've helped to coordinate and lead it for the last couple years. And it's a really fantastic opportunity, as I mentioned, to get a glimpse into commercial banking and really figure out if A, the industry of commercial banking is right for you, and B, if AMG Bank is the right fit for you, if that's the right culture, if you know you like what you see, if you might want to come back full time. Because if you enjoy your internship, there are opportunities to be considered for the full-time position, which is the Banker Development Program. So the internship is full-time paid opportunity. It's an 8-week-long program, and it's available in our core markets. So we have typically internships in Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth, San Antonio, and sometimes we even, as of this past summer, have an opportunity in Arlington too. So it just really depends on our needs. And the internship is a great way to get some hands-on experience, you know, as a member of our team. So really just to get some hands-on experience in banking, see what bankers do, what's it like working with our clients, you know, what's a credit presentation, credit package, how do I underwrite it, all of that stuff. You really get great exposure during the 8 weeks in the program. And if you like it and you're thinking it might be a great long-term opportunity for you to do as a full-time job upon graduating, Banker Development Program, it's a great segue from the internship program into the BDP, because we do look at our interns as potential candidates for the program. And we do have some other connections, like our interns, if they're interested in applying, they get an automatic invite to second round interviews for the Banker Development Program. So great opportunity to already be, you know, a couple steps ahead in the process there. And the Banker Development Program, in a nutshell, is really a program. It's a credit and sales training program that really serves to set up new grads and early career professionals with the training and career skills to lay a foundation to be a successful banker. That's really what it is. It's a corporate-wide strategy to really help develop our bankers and the next generation of lenders and leaders, because a lot of our bankers who go through the Banker Development Program, they're future leaders of the company. You know, we have a lot of team leads, department managers, executives who have gone through this program. So it really depends on how far you want to go. If you're, you know, happy at a lower level, that's fine. But we do have a lot of executives who've made it through the program and just continue growing. And of course, we target new grads, you know, early career professionals who are really interested in banking, and predominantly to confirm that our summer internship program does serve as a pipeline for candidates for the Banker Development Program. Absolutely. That was a great way to put it. We definitely see it as such. And although we realize not all interns who end up spending the summer with us will eventually choose a career in banking, you know, they, from the feedback we receive, our interns really appreciate our program. They like all the exposure they get. get. They like the activities they're involved in, the networking the network they get to build. But, sometimes for one reason or another, they just end up going a different route, which is perfectly fine. We realize it's not going to be 100% crossover, but we do have a lot of interns who end up being interested in the opportunities and end up proceeding with being recruited for our banker development program classes. We definitely had a great turnout from this past summer as well, where we had quite a few recruits from that program into our full-time positions. So absolutely. But to tell you more about the summer internship program, I mentioned it's an 8-week program, and it's a really great way to gain exposure to commercial banking, to really figure out if the industry is the right fit, and to get, and more generally, if you haven't had corporate experience, if you haven't had this kind of, work experience over the summer, this is a great opportunity to do so, and specifically banking, of course. You really get an opportunity to get exposure to different lending groups that we have at the bank. You get to find out about other different services and groups that we have at the bank as well. So different markets handle it a little bit differently. If you're in Houston, you would have a chance to get assigned to a specific lending group for the summer and work closely with them, while still, of course, learning about the other groups at the bank as well. In our DFW and Central Texas markets, you would have an opportunity to rotate through a couple different lending groups for 2 to 3 week periods to really get a bit of a taste of the different groups in the bank. So just depending on which market you're in, it would be a little bit different, but all of the markets definitely offer great opportunity to learn regardless of how we handle it. So some of the things our interns could expect to be doing during the summer is helping with industry research, right? I mentioned we're a growing bank, so we're always looking out for great prospects for to connect with great businesses that might be available for business in the area and the communities that we serve. So helping do that research, who might be looking for a new bank, who might be in kind of that growth mindset and need new services and opportunities, or a loan. Preparing client prospect lists, right, is helping our relationship managers with that outreach, helping to create that, put that together, scheduling appointments. And sometimes it's a great opportunity our interns get is to go on a client call to really see how that relationship worked, to see how that conversation goes between our bankers and our partners. Like we often invite treasury management partners, other partners on the client call, just to show them the full suite of services we can offer, to really see how that conversation goes. And we've had interns come back very kind of bright-eyed and excited that they got to get that experience. Sometimes they even get involved in the conversation, which can be great exposure for them as well. They could be, you could be assisting with credit presentations. There's a fair amount of underwriting in the credit analyst type role, which is what you are in the banker development program. So getting exposure to what is a credit presentation? How do we put it together? What goes into it? What kind of financial statements do we look at? How do we assess the different numbers and metrics for businesses? Really understanding how that process works. And then, of course, observing things like how we spread financial statements, how we underwrite loans. You really get to see how that all works out. And if you go to the next slide, and some other things too, I would hate to not mention them. You don't only get to do that kind of work, the real world work, but you also get some fantastic training opportunities because it is a structured program. We have things like executive sessions. You get to meet group on one with an executive, some of our senior leaders in the company, which is a great way to learn directly from their experiences, their careers, their paths, what they do, what's unique about each market, things like that. We also have, like presentation skills training, resume workshop. We have some other learning and development opportunities like how to network or, different communication styles. There's definitely some great training opportunities we have as that. And you get to apply them. So presentation skills training, we have our interns do Wall Street Journal presentations, and they do a final line of business presentation at the end of summer as well, to really help everyone at the bank, different groups, understand, hey, what did you do over the summer? What did you learn? What did you get out of it? Kind of a final capstone project. So definitely I get them involved in that. We get our interns engaged in volunteering. I told you, community service, volunteers, and this is a big part of who we are. We get our interns involved in that too. We helped out with kids' meals the last couple of summers, making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. We do all kinds of different things to really get them a taste of that. We also take them sometimes out on different tours. So that photo you see there, we are at the Minute Maid Park. We got a great tour. Definitely got to learn a lot more about our favorite baseball team here in Houston, and we bank the Astros. So definitely the connection there. They got to learn about corporate lending, what the group does, what kind of clients we work with. They got to go through a deal, see how we structure it, and then we took them on a tour of the Minute Maid Park. So definitely some exciting opportunities to learn there through the program.
Wow. Yeah, thank you for investing that kind of time in students. I know we're still working on, I think, getting some of our first UTA interns at Amegy Bank, but
Yes,
wow, what
excited too.
what a cool opportunity, and I love the photo.
Thank you.
What you mentioned, that another thing you mentioned that I love to hear, that students, I think, often overlook or don't understand how to pursue, is the development of their professional network. Understanding how important it is to meet these folks and be comfortable meeting folks at higher levels. So the fact that they have access to leadership, in some cases, and they're interacting with leadership and presenting to leadership. I mean, that's just a fantastic experience. So,
and we encourage them, David, all throughout the summer. We actually have some checkpoints. We have a mid-internship feedback session, kind of check in, see how they're doing, provide them some feedback, whether, just great, hey, doing a great job, or some constructive to kind of help course correct if needed. And we give final feedback as well. We definitely ask them, hey, who have you met with? Are you interested in other areas of the bank? Well, why don't you reach out to that person? We recommend people for them to connect with, depending on their interests. So definitely a great way to build that network. Absolutely. Well, some of the things I wanted to cover next, so really wanted to discuss the qualifications for the program. Obviously, if you like what you've heard so far, if you're interested in applying, we will be recruiting heavily come early October through early November, when our applications will be posted on our career site on Handshake. So as you're gearing up to potentially apply, I did want to make you aware of our minimum requirements and some things we look for. So obviously we target high potential students with all those different skills that I mentioned earlier that we look for. Really, finance and accounting majors are preferred, where if it's a great candidate and a great fit, otherwise we might consider some other majors, but typically finance and accounting is who we target. We do ask for a minimum overall GPA of 3.0 and 6 hours of accounting courses. Typically that will be your financial accounting and then managerial accounting as well, typically. So the 6 hours, we do recruit currently juniors. So by the time the summer rolls around, they will be rising seniors. So that you basically must complete your junior year undergrad work by May, prior to the start of the internship. And you will need to graduate either December following the internship or May. So within a year, after the internship, because as I mentioned, we would like the opportunity to recruit our interns, our summer interns, into the full-time banker development program upon graduation. So we kind of like to have that continuity. And just must be available to work 40 hours per week. It's a full-time, temporary, but full-time opportunity for the 8-week period. And the internship runs from the second week of June, typically that's second Monday, through the first week of August. So that's what to expect there. Perfect. And if you hit it a couple more times, David, I think the slide has transitions. I should have taken them out. All right, perfect. So the banker development program, if you do the internship and you really enjoy it and you think, wow, this is exactly what I want to do when I grow up, right? This is exactly what I want to do when I graduate, or at least you're very interested and you think it's going to be a good fit for you. This is something to consider. I know a lot of students ask about or have, concerns over, well, I graduate, I get my degree, and then what, am I just throwing in there and expected to figure it out? That can be really scary, right? You just have your degree, but you don't really know what you're doing. Well, we take care of that because we realize it's a bit of a transition from college, from being a student to being a full-time professional. So we definitely help with that. And the banker development program, it's really set up to give you all the skills and knowledge you will need to be successful. We want to, it's a big investment on our part, and we do it because we really believe in fully developing our future bankers. So there are 3 phases to the program. There's the initial training phase, which is about 4 to 5, 4.5 months or so of formal credit training and sales training. It's classroom style training, and all of the analysts we hire for all of our markets go through this training in Houston. So we're at the Amagi Tower in our headquarters location, just for that duration for the 4.5 months. They all do it as one class. It's a great way to get to know your peers. As you start off, it's a fantastic way to kind of develop those relationships. But we put them through all kinds of training, from credit foundations training, which actually they get to fly out to Salt Lake City for a couple of times. Credit culture is very consistent for us across Zions Bank Corporation, and this is part of how we do that, is the credit foundations training. They learn all the necessary kind of skills they'll need to really help them understand how to underwrite, how to work with credit. We, of course, have a lot of other training sessions throughout, including things like sales training. That's very important to this role as well. And presentation skills training and many other things, professional development, lots of networking. They really started getting exposed to different areas at the bank, different people, executives. I think our CEO likes to meet with them, like week one, just to welcome them to the bank, realizing they're future leaders of the bank. There's definitely a lot of potential there. They do case studies, deal discussions. They meet with different lending groups. It's a great way to really transition what you've learned in school to how it applies in the professional environment, and specifically in banking. All those finance, accounting principles, really how they apply in banking. And then the second phase is a rotational phase. So you go from classroom style training to on-the-job training, where you really actually get to do some real, work on live deals, so do some real work, but you're also continuing to train, to learn, right? Realizing you still don't know how to do your job. You're learning, but you're also helping the groups you're rotating with. So during rotations, you have an opportunity to rotate with different areas within the bank, different lending groups. And there are two reasons to do that, right? First of all, you get a well-rounded view of different lending groups within the bank, kind of different areas, how they approach business, what kind of clients they work with, how they structure their deals, but also to start figuring out your fit, right? Is where do you see yourself fitting in? How's the team dynamic? Where do you think might be a good place for you? While you're on rotations, you're performing the job of a credit analyst. You are the primary underwriting support for that team while you're with them. Of course, your first rotation is a steep learning curve. There's a lot, but then you get the hang of it, and you help out more and more, and you get that exposure. So there's a minimum of 4 to 7 rotations throughout the rotational phase. You go on a minimum of 4 up to 7, and they are about 3 months long each, so roughly 12 weeks each. And the whole program is about 16 to 26 months in duration. And the variability is, of course, depending on how many rotations you do. And the final phase is placement. So after you do your rotations, you figure out where you're going to place within the bank. Is you find that fit, and it's not a weed out program. We really work to find that the best fit for you within the bank, what team to go on. And when you place, you either end up you place on that team and you graduate the program. So you become an associate. It is an officer title within the bank, and from there, kind of your career takes off. And we do have 2 different tracks within the program. We have a business banking credit analyst track, and we have a traditional credit analyst track. And if you've already taken a look at some of our positions, you may have noticed that. But basically, it's just depending on what kind of size businesses you want to work with. Business banking is going to be more focused on your, smaller to middle market businesses up to $20 million in revenue. And the traditional credit analyst track focuses on working with middle to larger market businesses over $20 million in revenue. So that's basically, what the program is structured like. We do have 2 classes a year. We have one in January, one in June. So obviously, if you're a December grad, we have one in January. If you're a May grad, we have one in June. And we have those, Houston, DFW, Central Texas markets that I mentioned about. So that's what you can look forward to if you intern with us and think it might be a good fit. It's this pipeline from intern to full-time we definitely look forward to. And if you're wondering about career progression, I know a lot of students ask me that, which is why I kept that slide on there. I don't want you just to be short-sighted and think internship and that's it. Great, you put it on your resume, that's it. No, think longer term. Where can that lead you, right? The stepping stones. So I talked about BDP. What comes after that? Well, there is it lends a path, a career path out of that program, which is fantastic. Definitely one of the perks. It's a little bit different depending on which track you do, but each one is a great opportunity, no matter which one you choose. So typically, the program really prepares our credit analysts to become relationship managers. There are other opportunities in the bank as well, like portfolio manager. There's other roles, but that's just what it's really set up to prepare you for. And a relationship manager is typically an externally facing role within the bank. It's someone who really wants to be working with clients in a client facing role. And it really it requires a balance of both analytical skills, so understanding credit, numbers, all of that. So having that analytical mindset, but also having really great interpersonal skills. So really enjoying working with people, a client facing, and having some sales acumen, because it is, a sales-driven role. There's business development there because our relationship managers, they own their own portfolio of clients and they work on growing it, right? Bringing in new clients, growing their portfolio, because that's how we grow the bank. So the BDP is really set up to really prepare someone for that role, but we also have other opportunities at the bank as well. And from there, just really depends on how driven you are and where you want to go, right? But that's kind of what you're working towards. So definitely wanted to touch on that. That's a great career progression from there. And qualification. So very similar to the internship, just slightly slight tweaks, but really it's basically the same. We used to require 9 hours of accounting. We have just recently updated that. David, I'm not sure if I reached out to you about that, but it is a recent change we've made. We're opening it up to 6 hours, but really finance and accounting students, 3.0 minimum GPA, 6 hours of accounting. We're still going to prefer 9, including intermediate accounting 1. And but if you don't have that, we can still consider you. Just really depends. We're really looking for a good fit. And some qualifications, additional, you might be thinking, okay, great, I meet those minimum requirements, but what kind of student, what kind of candidate are you really looking for? Someone with excellent communication, presentation or personal skills. I mentioned it's a client facing kind of track, and you really need to be good with people and curious and want to, engage with people. Leadership skills, community involvement, that's pretty important too. Look at students who, are involved on campus or in their community. Maybe they've taken on leadership roles, to lead a student organization or help out in other ways. Someone who's detail oriented. You're working with numbers, with money. Obviously, it's pretty important to have attention to detail, to be organized and analytical, and having those problem solving skills we've talked about. We also look for students who are motivated. You really got to be self-driven, have that self-starter attitude, because you're going to have to encourage yourself and set those goals for yourself. And always, internship and prior work experience is a plus. And if you needed more reasons to get an internship, hey, this is it, because it helps you get a full-time job. So definitely a great plus there. All right, well, that's I've talked through, I think, enough so far. Hopefully that gave you enough interest to want to apply, reach out, consider us. We definitely have some great opportunities at Amegy. If you have questions, if you want to express interest, you're always welcome to reach out to myself. Obviously, I work to recruit candidates for both programs, or I definitely encourage you to apply. If you've liked what you've heard and you're interested, whether it be an internship, a full-time opportunity, or intern, then a full-time opportunity, please do apply. We do have our applications on Handshake, but eventually you will always be asked to apply on our career site as well. The QR code that's on the screen, we figured that's an easiest way to get to students' attention, is just quick and easy way to go on our early career page. There on that page, you will find links to both digital brochures for our summer internship program and for our banker development program. So all of the additional information, everything laid out there for you so you can review that, and also links to apply. So it's easy and all in one place.
It's a very cool photo of the tower too. I like that.
Thank you.
Nice.
That is where I work. And even though it's a bit of a drive for me, I do love going into that building. It is a beautiful building, state of the art. It is, the architecture is stunning. And I love all the windows, all the natural light we get. It's great. Hard to beat that.
Just a fantastic overview. Thank you. And I really appreciate the detail. And I know the students are going to also appreciate the level of detail. Thank you for going into that. I wanted to ask a few follow-up questions. More common, I guess, what I know a lot of our students are thinking and asking us and are curious about. You mentioned obviously apply or reach out. Thank you for your contact information and being willing to share even your LinkedIn, which is again in the chat for folks who are interested. But other best practices for students who who may have a lot of interest, who you remember what that's like. You want to try to stand out. You know, a lot of folks are applying. So just any other best practices from you personally for showing interest, relationship building, and following up appropriately when you have interest in these kinds of roles. I know this is career fair season, so students are standing in line to talk to representatives who might just then send them to a website to apply, right? You still have that paper resume in hand that some folks say, apply on the website. And when you walk away, sometimes you feel like you really had limited time to make an impact.
Yeah.
You wish that there was something you could do to try to stand out and build a relationship. Do you have any tips or thoughts about action student can take, or what kind of behaviors they should engage in to help?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question, especially right now in peak of recruiting season, as students are considering different opportunities. And you're right, it's hard to stand out in a sea of students or a sea of employers. We have a similar issue. So think about that too, on both sides. But really, one of the key things the students can do is, first of all, to be themselves, because they should really never have to feel like they have to be someone else to really gain an opportunity, because eventually they're going to realize it's a misfit, right? A mismatch. You be their genuine selves, but also put their best foot forward, right? To kind of be the best version of themselves. Really, I think, we've talked about the different qualities we look for, but really depending on what they're interested in, what they're going for, thinking about what skills are needed in that type of role. So I talk about being client facing, having good interpersonal skills. Even in a short interaction at a career fair, a few minute conversation, you can already show your engagement level, your enthusiasm, your energy, your attitude, how well you're able to connect with someone in a very short amount of time. And we pick up on that too. So think about, practice having conversations. That's why networking sessions are great, because it gives you practice. Even if you don't get a job out of it, it's practice talking to strangers, which can be very intimidating. We realize that interviewing is intimidating, meeting new people can be intimidating, but it's really great practice because you get to develop those natural connections and conversations, and that can be very, very important. I do recommend having, I hate using this word because I know it can be scary to students, but elevator pitch. Really, all that means is being able to talk about yourself and hitting on some key things about yourself within a short amount of time, right? Elevator ride, I don't know, like 30 seconds, however long you have.
I'm glad you brought that up. Again, for students starting out as young professionals, especially if they happen to be introverted, small talk is difficult. They feel like they have limited time. There's just a lot of stress in that. Meeting someone who they feel like might be at a very high level, which makes even seasoned professionals nervous sometimes when they meet someone who's, again, at an executive type of level. So what kinds of things do you look for? Do you like to hear from students in that initial first meeting as part of their pitch? What do you look for?
So really kind of where they're at, right? Are they a junior looking for an internship? Are they a senior looking for a full-time opportunity? So got to start, shake someone's hand, if you're in person, smile, that's important. you gotta show some excitement for meeting the person you're there to meet. Introduce yourself, obviously say your name, what year in school you are, your major, and a few words about what you're looking for. So why are you there? Whether it's a career fair, a networking event, some other event, why are you there, and what's the goal of you talking to that person? So say, for example, hey, I'm Aliona Dodson. I am, a junior finance student. I'm involved in a couple of these organizations on campus. I'm really looking to get a great summer internship experience this coming summer. I have some interest in banking. I'm not 100% sure where I might want to end up, but I really know this is a great kind of potential track for me. And I'm just curious, what does Amegy have? Is there a potential opportunity for me to gain that exposure? I've seen Amegy, around town. I know it's a great name in banking, but how can I really get engaged? So really start the conversation from there. What are you looking for, right?
Yeah, that was super. That was really good. It can be that simple, but it does take some practice, right? I mean, we're used to throwing those pitches out, and I encourage students to practice that over and over.
Yes.
It will come to you.
Exactly.
you'll get it down. And what I think they also don't understand is you'll take over the conversation
Yes.
after that. They'll have, the employer will have questions for you, and you won't have to
Mhm.
carry the conversation.
Yeah.
So you just want
Absolutely.
introduction. Now, one last question. I know we're
Yeah.
running close on time, but I know a question that I always get from interns, and it's always interesting for me to hear from employers for the specific
Mhm.
characteristics that they look for. I know you took us through the qualifications
Yeah,
for both
absolutely.
programs, but in order to be successful, I mean, as part of the culture there at
Mhm.
Amity, if I were an intern,
Mhm.
what characteristics or qualities do you think are going to help me the most, or really be
Yeah.
prized by Amity?
Absolutely. I can walk through that real quick. So honestly, David, a lot of the similar characteristics that I mentioned of students we look for in interns, those are going to be the very same ones that make them successful in a full-time role at the company. Very similar, because as I mentioned, in interns, we're already starting to look for those qualities because we want that continuity, right? So I'm gonna mention a few, strong communication and interpersonal skills, both verbal and written in any way, virtual, whatever you can think of. Communication is very, very key, especially in a client-facing role like banking. Strong work ethic, those leadership skills. You don't have to do a million different things, but find something you're passionate about, find something that matters to you, that you enjoy, and try to, work your way up to maybe a leadership position or getting engaged in the community, or really kind of giving back in something that's meaningful to you, because we'll see that you have that drive and that motivation and leadership skills to be a leader in the community like we are in banking. Those analytical problem solving skills. That's why we have a GPA minimum, because we really want to see that, hey, are you able to keep up with your coursework? Are you able to do well in your classes and to really keep up with that, learning and, being a sharp student, being adaptable and dynamic. That's a big one. I mean, you've seen how much change has happened in just the last couple of years alone. You really have to be flexible and adaptable to kind of keep up with the times and make yourself competitive, in the industry. Curious, that's a huge one. I mean, Walter Johnson, our founder, says that constantly. Our leaders say that constantly, and I understand why. As a banker, you have to be curious, because when you meet business owners, that you have no idea the first thing about them. How do you find out? You ask questions. You ask questions because that's how you learn. So, and that's actually a point to your earlier question, David, how to make yourself stand out. Come prepared with questions. When you know you're going to be in an opportunity to meet with an employer, come with questions, whether it's like, hey, I heard Amity does this. Can you tell me more about that? Already going to make you stand out. Hey, you looked something up, you know something about us, and you have a follow-up question. That's a great thing to do. But be curious on whatever work you're doing. Ask questions, learn more. Focus on networking and building relationships, because I know sometimes it can be easy to kind of focus on the detail of the actual work that you may neglect the networking, but that's also very important. We always encourage that as part of the banker development program, part of the internship. It's very crucial. And hungry to learn. You gotta be hungry to learn, work hard and succeed, because no one else is going to be able to give that drive to you. You have to have that internally. And of course, typical things that are good in a job, in the detail, and honesty and integrity. Those are definitely important. And just offer to help. That can make a world of difference. If you wrap up a task and you don't have much going on, especially as an intern. Hey, why don't you go next door and ask your team member, hey, is there anything I can be helping you with? I would love to help you if I can. Get exposure, learn a couple more things. Be open to it, be open to assignments, and be flexible. And that's going to open up some opportunities, definitely.
Yeah, that's fantastic advice. I mean, you perfectly articulated what I hear from so many other employers. And students, I think, are oftentimes looking for some really elaborate, complicated, magical response
Yeah.
to what it is employers want.
Mhm.
And it's and you like I said, you summarized it perfectly. A lot of the soft skills that we talk so much about. Customer service, a smile, initiative.
Yeah.
People skills, for lack of a better way to put it. All of those things are really important. So encourage students to take part in leadership programs, get involved in clubs and organizations.
Absolutely.
As you said, taking initiative. How can I help? Being willing to go the extra mile
Mhm.
still means a lot. That's a rare quality these days, I hear from employees.
Yes.
That is a big
Yeah.
a big deal.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
And I know you're probably out on the circuit doing a lot of recruiting. I didn't know before we wrapped up if there was anything you would like to mention, promote, or kind of plug as we close, or anything we want to
Sure.
highlight.
Yeah, just a couple things to wrap up with. One other thing to follow up on something you said earlier, how to make yourself stand out. Really what you're trying to do in these minute connections, with employers is really give them a reason to want to follow up with you, or give them a reason to want to invite you back for whether it's a first round interview or another some kind of other connection, right? And oftentimes it's just being curious, having a great attitude and a smile will get you there. So just think about that. Be yourself, but definitely know your why, kind of why you're interested in that opportunity, what excites you about it. And the other thing I wanted to touch on that I don't believe we touched on earlier, and I just wanted to be transparent about it, David, with the students. I know we've had in the past quite a few students apply for the internship, from UTA who are international students. And I just really wanted to be transparent and say, just so they're aware kind of our recruiting practices. Unfortunately, we do not recruit international students and we do not sponsor visas. So I just wanted to be honest and transparent and upfront about it. It's I know we've had questions about that in the past at a lot of career fairs. With the interns, I know a lot of international students have this CPT or OPT process that I'm familiar with, but the thing is, because we so much rely on our interns to be a pipeline for full-time candidates, we really, even at that point, will not consider international students because we need for them to be completely unhindered, basically, for a full-time role. So that's our whole reasoning there. And we know it's limiting for us because there are a lot of great students who are international students, and we wish we could, consider them as well, but just wanted to be transparent about that. And the last thing I wanted to mention is, hey, if anything I mentioned, resonated with you, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn with other bankers at Amity and really to apply. Please do go on our career site, or on Handshake, whatever works for you, and do apply for the opportunities, because we would love to consider some University of Texas at Arlington students, because we really would love to be a more active participant in this program, the Mavs Edge. So we'd love to have some great candidates apply. And the internship positions will be posted from early October through early November. So currently we just have our banker development program positions posted. If you have any seniors who are friends, if anyone's listening, we are about to wrap up that recruiting. So there's still opportunity to apply until September 30th.
Thank you. And thank you for being so clear with our international student population. They're a very engaged group, and I know that they'll appreciate that transparency so that they understand, everyone understands each other's needs, right?
Exactly.
And we did have a late arriving question that I wanted to make sure I before we wrap up. The question was about full-time, other full-time opportunities. A student who was graduating soon was looking for something in software engineering. I know we talked primarily about banking roles today. But you could say about maybe support roles and those kinds of positions within.
So that's a great question, David. And typically in the past, I would have said, we don't really have those opportunities. But let me expand on that, because even though that's not something I recruit for, and that's not a focal area for me and for Amity, part of Zions Bancorporation, actually one of our biggest affiliates is our Enterprise Technology Operations Group. They are huge. They're the biggest affiliate we have at the bank by numbers, because in banking, there's a lot of technology, right? There is a lot of software that we're using. There's a lot of technology we need to keep up all the operations. So that is a big part of our industry and commercial banking. So with that said, I know we have Zions Bank, so out of Utah, they do recruit a lot of interns for our ETO group. Not a whole lot in Texas, but I literally just days ago got news that we might be considering some, for potential either internship or full-time spots here in Texas. So if they're interested, they can reach out to me and I can potentially pass on their resume to someone who might be able to offer an opportunity. And I, of course, encourage them to take a look at the career site. They can Google Zions Bancorporation, just see kind of all the opportunities within our family of banks, and to see if there might be something available.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's been fantastic talking to you. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us. Thank you for your partnership and your support of UTA students. Reminder to folks who are watching, we're going to be posting this panel, an edited version, edited version of this panel
Great.
on our LinkedIn Spotlight page. We'll also be sharing that in our weekly communications. So you will have another chance to view it. A lot of great information here. Again, good luck to the
Thank
students
you.
semester, and good luck with recruitment. Let us know if there's anything we could do.
Thank you so much, David. Appreciate you hosting me today. Great time. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.